Sorry for the coughing there, guys. Clearing my throat. Thought I had a couple seconds. We're just getting started here. Gonna answer everybody's questions. Glad we got a couple people on board. Wanted to apologize too because I've been absent for 2 or 3 days. Just been busy with work. I work in healthcare. Don't really talk about that a lot, but COVID and everything, just been a little bit crazy. But I'm going to make it up. Hopefully we can do a nice little live chat tonight. And I got some additional live vlogs going on right now. And if you haven't checked out the prize vlog, make sure that you do. Just going to get my comments turned on here. There we go. Perfect. And yeah, just making sure everything's going on here. Hopefully everybody's tuning in, staying safe here on their Friday night. Going to have a good weekend. And yeah, we got some comments coming in. Yeah, definitely. I'm mad. Totally agree there. Just like get that in there. One more here, just making sure we're getting started there. Sorry about that. One of those things that, there we go. Perfect, yeah. I'm mad too. I gotta admit, some of the Jays, I don't know. Not to talk about the Blue Jays right off the hop. I'm just about to do a vlog saying, what are we doing here? Because if you're a Blue Jays fan, you immediately got excited this offseason. We added George Springer. We solved the third center field problem. Did Marcus Semien, shuffling Biggio over to third. We solved our infield. We beefed up our bullpen. And it looks like we've actually regressed. I feel like we've gone back in our starting rotation to a certain degree. I don't understand this. I'm assuming maybe they're waiting for the midseason. The only team that I could see giving up a solid starter would be maybe Cincinnati. Maybe you could pry Sonny Gray out of their hands before the preseason started, but it's going to take a lot. You probably have to take on Moose as well. So if we're getting into that conversation with the Blue Jays, you're probably talking Kevin Biggio. And this is what happens when you wait a little bit too late into the season and you get yourself a bit compressed there or tied down, however you want to say it, to the Blue Jays management. Whatever it is, we need a starter, and now we're going to have to pay through the nose if we want a decent one. And if we're making a trade in Cincinnati, it's probably going to be Kevin Biggio and maybe Alejandro Kirk for somebody like Sonny Gray and Mike Moustakas and maybe a bullpen piece. I don't like that. I don't want to give up Biggio and Kirk. I don't know if I want to give up either one of them. But this is what it's going to take if we want a number 2. And I don't think we're going to get it. I think they're going to wait till the midseason. So this is going to be interesting because one thing that I haven't said yet, I almost didn't want to jinx it, but I guess it has to be discussed. One thing that when the Blue Jays went out and they signed Hyun-Jin Ryu, pardon me as I clear my throat here, everybody said, oh, they gave him that 4th year. That's going to be trouble for the Blue Jays. Similar to what they're saying with the George Springer signing. Little bit difference with Springer, though. If a player kind of regresses in their last year, we could always figure out how to put George Springer in the DH when he's 36, 37. I guess he'll be 37 for that last year. The question is, what happens to Hyun-Jin Ryu if he starts to age a bit and underperform? And I don't want to say that because I said it's probably going to happen in his last year. But is there going to be a slow decline from year 2 to year 5? And if there's a slow decline, are we going to start to feel that this season coming up? And an additional thing that I wanted to point out, and not to be discouraging to Blue Jays management, Hyun-Jin Ryu, out of the 6 years, if you exclude 2020, so 2019 and 6 years prior to that, he has only pitched 29 and 30 starts twice out of those 6 years. He's been injured 66% of the time. So everybody said, if you got 25 good starts out of Ryu, you're doing great. And we never really discussed that because Jays management were never really put in that position because we had that shortened season. And when we did that shortened season, the person who benefited the most was Ryu. He wasn't stretched. He wasn't pushed that hard. I know he could have probably done more innings and he was maybe pulled too early. That's another conversation. But the point was Ryu wasn't expected to pitch over 200 innings and go 32 starts. So if we do that, and we're counting on Ryu for 24 to 26 starts, that means we've already lost Ryu for 7 of those starts. Additionally, Nate Pearson, say Nate Pearson pitches amazing and he's like Ryu. Awesome. Still, again, 22 to 25 starts. That's all we're going to get out of Nate Pearson. I know they haven't discussed anything about innings limits, really. Nate Pearson's kind of hiffed and hawed at it in some of the interviews and spring training to start. But we know there's going to be an inning limit on the guy. He's only pitched over 100 innings once in his career, and that wasn't in Major League. That was actually in spring training, where he went, I think, 107 or 109. Point is, he's probably going to pitch 140, maybe 150 innings. So you're looking at 22, 25 starts max out of Nate Pearson. He's going to be shut down in September, so he's not even a question for the postseason or late September or a run. Even more discouraging for the Blue Jays is who we have penciled in as 2 for 5. Right now, I guess it's Steve Matz. And I'm going to give Steve Matz, this is where I'm going to be maybe gracious to the Blue Jays. And let's say he returns to some sort of form like he did in 2019. And maybe he goes 11-11 with a 4.3, 4.2 ERA. Not bad, but that's kind of what you want out of your 4 or 5. Again, Tanner Roark, if you look at Tanner Roark, and I know people want him out anyways, each year he's notched up between 4.2, then 4.4, 4.8. It's just going up that way. He's going to be maybe 10 wins if we can get lucky out of him. Fingers crossed if we can get him under 4.5 ERA. Point is, Tanner Roark's more of a 5 or 6 starter, and these are guys we're counting on to be 2s for 4. And I lump Nate Pearson as a number 5 starter only because we can't get a full season out of him. So a third of his starts is kind of handcuffed to Ross Stripling. That's right. Yeah, we need him to pitch at least a dozen innings too to make up for Ryu, to make up for Nate Pearson, maybe even more, maybe up to 24 innings out of Ross Stripling. Yeah, so we're really asking too much out of the Jays rotation. It's just not going to happen. It's what's going to handcuff us this season. And last but not least, Robbie Ray. And I think Robbie Ray, I got to take a deep breath. $8 million. We could have got James Paxton for almost the same price. I get very frustrated. I don't know why they signed him so quickly. I've been upset about this all along. I think he's going to blow up for the Jays. Even if he pitches like he pitched last season, it's still going to be a 4.8 to 5.2 ERA. Lucky if we get 8, 10 wins out of the guy. He's a number 6 starter at best. He's an insurance piece. He's somebody who should be pitching for the Baltimore Orioles, not the Toronto Blue Jays. Sorry, I'm just being hard. And you got to be hard on the Jays now, because if you're going out and you're making big moves and signing people like George Springer, Yates, Marcus Semien, then you're getting us excited. But you don't address your biggest need, which is starting pitching. And you can't bat your way to a championship. We tried that already with Edwin, Donaldson, and Batista. Nothing against the people in that run. But we certainly would have went a lot further or farther, pardon me, if we would have had starting pitching. Let's get into some of these questions. I'm rambling on here. I'm getting mad. Here, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee here. Yep, Marquez. I think Marquez would be another awesome piece. And I always want to say Jermaine, but it's Herman Marquez out of the Rockies. And yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on in Rockies land. They certainly messed up Nolan Arenado's signing or trade. They're taking up $50 million. Trevor Story, they say they're going to try to renegotiate. They're not renegotiating with Trevor Story. Trevor Story laughed at that last year. I'm sure he's laughing even harder this year. And with some of the contracts that have gone out, especially even recently with the Tatis extension, Trevor Story is going to get around $250 million. He's not signing with the Rockies. He's probably out of the Blue Jays budget. He's going to be, I don't know where he's going to be next year. I could see some team like the Yankees maybe going crazy and trying to figure out how to get that deal done and maybe try to sign somebody like him. God forbid Blue Jays, but that might be what the Yankees do to counteract the Jays' young talent coming out. But yeah, there are some pitchers out there. You could press Colorado. We could press Cincinnati. And we'll see what happens. Comparing Nolan Arenado and the Jays, who's going to do better here? Well, it's interesting here because I like Nolan Arenado. I think Nolan Arenado is going to do he's going to do great down in Cardinal land. What caught me by surprise and I never really was able to include that in my thinking. Pardon me, I'm a little stuffy with my allergies. Was how cool the Cardinals were able to renegotiate that Nolan Arenado contract and specifically ensure that they at least got 2 years out of him rather than that 1 year and walk. And how they've done that and repositioned him, they're in a much better position to get more value for what they traded over there, and they didn't have to trade much. And if Nolan Arenado goes long term, it's actually cost effective to the Cardinal organization because then you've got the Rockies picking up $50 million. However, George Springer, I was a little bit like, it took me a while to sweeten up to George Springer, and that's only because I was big on JT Realmuto. And JT Realmuto goes and I think he fractured his thumb, I believe so, when I was reading the news. I believe it was his thumb. But anyways, that's just bad luck. That has nothing to do with the player. But JT Realmuto and George Springer, to me, were the two big premium free agents this year. But I started looking at George Springer as a leadoff man for the Blue Jays. And I started thinking the Jays haven't had a strong, really effective leadoff hitter in some time. We were lucky enough during the run with Donaldson to have a few people fill in there. I think Ben Revere was one of them at that time. Somebody fast, but we never had somebody who could lead off who was fast, also had an aggressive bat, also could hit for home runs. So those are some of the things about George Springer that I really like. And when you look at the rest of the Jays lineup with George Springer there, and then maybe Bo, maybe Vladdy if he gets up to snuff, and then Teoscar, that's a scary four. And the other five for the Jays aren't bad as well. That's one of the things about the Blue Jays. I'm extremely impressed of our lineup, and I think we got a lineup that's going to rival the Yankees. Unfortunately, the Yankees just did a little bit more of addressing their starting rotation than the Jays, and that's what's going to handcuff us this season. So, in regards to comparing them, I like Nolan Arenado a tiny bit better. However, it's only because I worry about George Springer playing in his 30s. And I'm really hoping George Springer proves me wrong. I'm hoping that he doesn't have any more injuries. And I guess my biggest concern would be the turf, or how the Skydome, Rogers Center, I'll always call it the Skydome, is aggressively tough on players and their bodies. So I'm hoping that's not the Achilles heel. But to go one more step further about George Springer and why I kind of like that signing now is everybody said, well, George Springer's only going to play maybe 2-3 years if you're lucky in center field. And that was a conundrum for some teams signing him. But that's great for the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays have Austin Martin. Austin Martin, everybody suspects he's going to be the center fielder of the future for the Jays. So 3 years from now, you're going to have Austin Martin in center, and he's going to be amazing when he comes up, knock on wood. Plus, you're going to have George Springer maybe declining a bit defensively, but as your corner piece. And that's really cool. So the question, I guess, down the road is going to be, what are we going to do with Teoscar or Lourdes? So, yeah, the Yankees are completely stacked. Yeah, Ethan, I don't know what we're going to do with you. The good thing is I'm not a complete Yankees hater. Somebody asked me a question. They said, are you a Yankees hater? Are you a Dodgers hater? Because I went so hard on Trevor Bauer this year. I'm like, no, I'm not. I love the Dodgers. You know, they're just a dynasty. The Yankees are a great team as well, great organization. You know, they're kind of a better organization now. I give the Yankees credit because the Yankees back in like the late 90s and 2000, they kind of reminded me of a guy who had with George Steinbrenner, the guy with the big wallet who could just make his own fantasy team and just sign everybody. And as a Jays fan, you were always frustrated. Now the Yankees are a little bit different though, because they're actually becoming a team that's a lot more concerned with how they grow with their farm system. They're a little bit more conscious about whom and how they spend. And I think that's going to make the Yankees actually a much better team. As opposed to the team that's my nemesis, it's the Boston Red Sox. And I think the Boston Red Sox was just my nemesis because the same year we lost our manager who got traded to Boston, and that just irked me so hard. And then David Price goes over there as well. So it was like a 1-2 punch for Jays fans, so that kind of opened up the wounds if you're Toronto and a Boston sort of rivalry there. In Boston, they're a team, an organization that have themselves in probably as much mess maybe as the Rockies. It's kind of nice to be a Jays and Yankees fan, and maybe even Tampa right now. And what do I mean? I just did a vlog where they have as high a budget as the Yankees, Boston, and they're a complete mess. They're paying almost $50 million to either players who are going to other teams, like David Price, or deferral payments for players who have already retired. They're still paying Manny Ramirez. Yeah, imagine being that. I know the Jays just finished paying off Tulo, so who are we to complain? And maybe Boston's going to do some resurgence. I guess it's going to come down to Chris Sale, but I suspect if Chris Sale comes back and has any value, they're going to trade him next offseason. They have to. Boston only has 2 players in the top 100, and I think their highest was either 40 or 50. So they're a complete mess. So Yankees, yeah, beat up on Boston. I'm saying that, yeah, for all my Yankees fans out there, because if I know one thing about the Yankees, they hate the Boston Red Sox as much as me. My favorite player right now, I mean, my favorite player of all time was always Roy Halladay. And the reason why was I became a Blue Jays fan. Sorry, as I sip. Right after the Expos left, right after the Jays won the World Series. So I guess I've been a hardcore Blue Jays fan since 1993. That being said, for me, it was Roy Halladay. I was in a position before I worked in healthcare to work in advertising. I worked right beside the Sky Dome at the time. Nobody wanted Blue Jays tickets because they stunk pretty hard in the early 2000s. This is before anything great really happened in the Jays organizations. They just sort of dragged along, but they did have Clemens. I did get to see Boomer, David Wells, people like that pitch. But you always knew when you had a ticket for Roy Halladay, you could see something extremely special. You always knew when you had a ticket for Roy Halladay when he was pitching, no matter how bad the Jays were, you were probably going to get a win. That's why I saw the Jays win so many times. I saw the Jays win 18 times in a row over a 2-year period. But out of those 18 times, Roy Halladay started 16 of those 18. So that just makes sense. My favorite player, though, right now, probably goes down to 2 people. Clayton Kershaw, I just really am in awe every time that guy steps to the mound and pitches. He's just unbelievable. I know he's aging a little bit, and maybe that's why I was a little bit harder on Trevor Bauer going to the Dodgers. But there's just something special about seeing Clayton Kershaw pitch. Just to me, he gets me very excited. Now, if you're talking the Blue Jays, right now, for me, there's something really cool about seeing Bo Bichette. I don't know why. I think he's just going to be such a dynamic player for the Blue Jays. He just gets me very excited every time I see him bat. Nothing against Vladdy. I think with Vladdy, he was so everybody was so on their heels in the last 2 years. He's done really well, and I think this year is the year where our jaws drop for Vladimir Guerrero. But Bo Bichette got off to such a hot start that you had to love him. And Roger Clemens, he was another one of my favorite pitchers. I'm a pitcher guy. I'm also a big guy about attitude, so I was not a David Wells fan when he trashed the Toronto Jays after he left. It just drove me nuts. I made sure I had a ticket for his first game back to Toronto. And boy, oh boy, did we heckle him. I think I yelled, "Boomer!" probably for an hour straight till I couldn't speak. He pitched horribly. It was awesome. I don't remember if the Jays won or lost. I just know that David Wells pitched like a mess. So, some of my other favorite players for the Jays, sorry to go off on this, just to talk and reminisce. I was always lucky. I did a vlog actually way early when I was still, I think it was like my 3rd vlog. Frank Thomas. Got to meet him once outside the Rogers Center, and he was like a giant. He was so awesome. He got out of his SUV, signed autographs, did pictures. He was there for like 20 minutes. He was super cool. Just the type of baseball player you want to admire. But I like the guys who are a little bit behind the scenes. I like Johnny Mack. I like the guys who you call up from the bench who can pitch, hit in a pitch or, get those things done. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like Tellez. I guess that's going to be the question. Does Tellez get to play every day? Is he going to be that big bench bat that we get excited to come up? Oh, yeah. Jacob deGrom. I'd love to have Jacob deGrom, Jays. Oh, the Mets have such an awesome starting rotation. Here's an interesting question to go back to free agency and players. 2022, if we had our choice, no matter what team you root for, who would you want? Noah Syndergaard, Clayton Kershaw, Matt Scherzer, or Justin Verlander? All of those guys are going to be free agents next year. That's right. I'm sure Clayton Kershaw will figure out a way to either sign with the Dodgers, and if not, you know he wants to play for Texas, so maybe he's off the boards. But how exciting would it be, and how much money would it cost to pry Noah Syndergaard away from the Mets organization? And is he maybe that piece that the Jays need to get ourselves to the World Series? Imagine if we did get Noah Syndergaard in this offseason, and you had Noah Syndergaard, Ryu, Nate Pearson now pitching 200 innings off his inning limit as your 1, 2, 3 starting pitching. How exciting would that be for the Jays organization? Finally, we got a 1, 2, 3. I suspect, though, Noah Syndergaard is going to be looking for a contract anywhere between 250 to 300 million bucks. So the big question is, are the Jays going to open up their wallet and really open up the bank? Go all in and sign one of these big starting pitchers next year? That's what we'll have to see. And I know Verlander, I guess, will be the biggest question mark because I'd have to check his age. But I know the last time he signed his contract, they were saying, oh, well, he's getting up there. So if you're signing Verlander, it's going to be like signing Adam Wainwright. Yeah, you're looking for somebody who is just going to be pitching into their late 30s, maybe even 40. I suspect, though, if you're looking at Adam Wainwright, he's going to be like Yadier Molina. Pardon me as I have a sip here. They're just going to retire Cardinals organization. They're sort of like a legacy signing this year, in my opinion. But yeah, I could see them using the money. After they sign Wainwright and Molina and they get them off the books, I could see Noah Syndergaard going to the Cardinals. Actually, Rose just said it as soon as I was thinking it, so I guess we're thinking alike here. But yeah, I agree. So maybe the Jays take a chance on somebody like Verlander. I mean, he's pitched in the American League East, so maybe he's decent there. It's just a question, do you want to pay somebody who's going to be 40? Pardon me for the lighting. And then I guess there's Matt Scherzer. He's going to be the biggest one of the bunch, but then again, that's like 300 million bucks. And here's a question. If the Padres just did that 14-year, $340 million extension, wow. You know what I thought of immediately? Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero. Imagine, and I really hope it happens, all three of these guys have the year that we want them to have. All of a sudden, they take off and they are awesome for the Jays. Maybe Vladdy hits 40 home runs, has an average of 300. Bo hits 320. You know, I'm just speculating here. I'm getting excited. But the point I'm trying to make here, how much is it going to cost to re-sign them? And then maybe, is there some value to re-signing or extending, I should say, somebody like Bo, Vladdy, or Biggio now before they have those big years? Is Bo Bichette going to want $250 million to re-sign or extend with the Jays? I keep saying re-sign, sorry. And that's my point. Could those three players cost us easily over $500 million bucks? They're all great. Over $500 million for the Jays organization. I'm not suggesting they're going to give all three a 14-year contract extension, but it goes to show, what are we going to do with Bo and when? Because I guess Bo is going to be our biggest question first, and then Vladdy. I could see Biggio, unfortunately, being traded out at that point. I guess it just comes to how much monies the Jays have. Or if they don't trade Biggio, maybe they extend Vladdy and they extend Bichette, and unfortunately make Biggio go through each year of arbitration and that nonsense. I'm not sure what will happen there. If I was somebody who wanted to extend Bo Bichette, right now I would be looking at a contract, maybe 10 years, 150 to 170 million bucks. I know that's expensive, but you're getting Bo Bichette for $15 million a year for the next 10 years. Maybe that gets the deal done and allows the Jays to be a bit more flexible. I guess the question is, do you pay Vladdy as much as you pay Bo, considering Vladdy is the player who's supposed to have more upside, more bang? So that's what I'm like, what do we do here with Vladdy and Bo? Yeah, Dexter Flower, that was an interesting trade. I think that was just something that really was a convenience of Morrow's sides. And when you're talking about that, it kind of makes me go and think of Jackie Bradley Jr. And I think everything that's been done now with all these moves and signing, even Kevin Pillar, Superman, going over to the Mets, I think Jackie Bradley Jr. is going to be that player who is the odd man out. And now he has to really decide, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to sign that 1-year bounce back contract? And I think that's maybe what he's going to try to do now. And at least that will justify him not getting that huge contract. Something like Marcus Semien, maybe something around 18 million, 15 million. But hey, I suspected Jackie Bradley Jr. was only going to get 2 for 20 anyways. So it's Scott Boras, and yeah, I don't know if that's going to cause problems in Jackie Bradley Jr. I just don't see a lot of open spots for him now. A lot of doors closed, and I think that's going to be very frustrating. And I guess that's just what happens when you gamble like that. I can't see the Jays taking a chance on him. But I always said, and maybe this is why the Jays signed George Springer. I always said, if the Jays could get Jackie Bradley Jr. 2 years, $20 million, get that deal done and go aggressively on JT Realmuto. They didn't do that, and maybe this is why. I'm not in the know, but now it's starting to make sense of why Jackie Bradley Jr. is that odd man out. Pardon me for a second. My puppy's saying hello there for a second. So we'll wrap things up here. I know I said I was going to chat for a half hour. I'm going to do a couple vlogs. As I said, I apologize the last couple days. As I said, work in healthcare, so just got caught up and really busy. And going to get them out and continuing on with our sort of MLB breaking down each team. Sorry here as I get tongue-tied. Wanted to make sure everybody gets a chance. Check out the vlog that I've done. I think it has Nate Pearson up there. Talks about a prank that was done. I'm giving away a Nate Pearson personalized cameo to one of my subscribers. And cameo is I think it's like a 2-3 minute message, and Nate Pearson will do a video call for you and he'll send that out. So that we're giving away as a prize. And that's just a way, not collecting any personal info if anybody's worried about that. Just need your username, and then if you're comfortable, it'll actually be your email, so you don't even have to give your mailing address or anything like that, and that message will come to you. Just want to say thank you to everybody supporting me. We're just over 500 subscribers. I've only been doing this for 2 months, and I got my green screen on the way. Going to make the camera a lot better, so you're not, I guess, looking at my nose, as some people say, or looking down on you, so apologize for all that. So just want to thank everybody for supporting me along the way. And as I close up here, the only thing I'd like to say that I'm curious about is, who is the biggest free agent this offseason do you think the Jays missed out on? Who was that one player that Toronto could have signed that would have made the difference? And is it Trevor Bauer? I mean, outside of Trevor Bauer, I guess there was no real big pitchers. Did we lose out by not making an aggressive move for Tanaka or Sagano or some of those other guys? I don't know. For me, and Derek got to it before me, Kim. Ha-Seong Kim. I think he's going to be the biggest thing that the Jays missed out on. And if you don't know who Ha-Seong Kim was, he was a player coming over from Asia. The Padres scooped him up. I think it was around 40 to 48 million. I'd have to check. I don't remember. But it was under 50 million bucks. Ha-Seong Kim, he was pitching or hitting anywhere between 3 to 320 in Japan or Asia. So when he comes over to the Major League Baseball, I still suspect he's going to have a nice healthy average around 275. The guy is quick. He can steal bases like nobody else. He's going to get 25 stolen bases and maybe even hit 20 home runs. And you're all going to get that for around $8 million a year. That's a steal. And on top of that, the guy plays first, second, shortstop, and third. Doesn't really play first that great. Point is, he's like DJ LeMahieu or Biggio. Yeah, Korean, thank you. Biggio or DJ LeMahieu. Guy is a complete solid hitter, complete infield. For me, I would have went hard on him than Marcus Semien. I don't know. Would have cost us maybe an extra $30 million, but you would have got an extra 4 years. For me, that's the biggest thing that I missed out on for the Jays. Would have been Ha-Sung Kim. The second one would have been maybe making a big trade for a starting pitcher. I would have been really hard with Chicago, and I said this right off the hop. I wish the Jays would have done something to get Yu Darvish, especially if they were looking at unloading Chris Bryant. I said, no problem. A couple weeks before Darvish went over to the Padres, let's get Yu Darvish and Chris Bryant and get that deal done. Yeah, World Series prediction, before I wrap up here, this is how I see it going down. I think for the Jays, just to talk about the Jays specifically, I think we're going to just sneak through enough to get that wild card spot. If we get a solid number 2, I think it's still going to be a wild card spot, because by the time we make that signing at the All-Star break, there's going to be too big of a gap between the Yankees, there you go, Ethan, and the Jays to make up that deficit. But it would be interesting to see how that translates into the postseason. Right now, for the big teams, I think it's going to be the Yankees and the Chicago White Sox. Looking at the Los Angeles Angels sneaking in there as well. Just my prediction. And maybe, just maybe, the Minnesota Twins. And out of those, I think you're going to be looking at probably the Yankees and the Chicago White Sox making a play for the American League. And I have to say, probably the Yankees. It's going to be up to their pitching. Maybe their pitching just falls apart and they get overtaken. Maybe Chicago gives them a run for the money, but it's definitely going to be Chicago White Sox and the Yankees, one of those two teams on the American League side. Now, on the National League side, that's where it gets very interesting, in my opinion. You're definitely looking at the Dodgers, the Padres, the Mets are going to all be in there if you're looking at the divisions, and probably the Braves. But when it comes down to the playoffs, I think, and it depends on how it lines up, but to me it's going to be the Dodgers and the Padres. And I'm going to go one step further and say the Padres have such a complete team and such a young, aggressive team that I think they're going to take the Dodgers. And I think you're going to be looking at a Padres New York Yankees or a Padres Chicago White Sox World Series matchup for this year, and the Padres are going to win. If it's not the Padres, the Dodgers, but definitely a team from the National League. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here, so I better tune out. I'm going to edit up a vlog and get that one out tonight. And make sure you enter the prize vlog before the 28th to get on that chance to win the personalized Nate Pearson cameo. And I'm going to try to do another live bonus live stream this Sunday just to talk about spring training. Well, maybe we'll do that around 2 p.m. So if you have time, tune in there. More importantly, I hope everybody stays safe out there. We'll talk soon. All right. Take care, guys. Thanks for your support. Bye now.